I'm Janice Hostegger. After 3 decades in the marketing business and many years of being an entrepreneur, I've learned a thing or two about marketing. Join me as we talk about marketing, small business, and life in between. Welcome to My Weekly Marketing. Three seconds. That's all the time it takes for a website visitor to make up their mind about your site. Most small businesses have a website, and if you don't, I really recommend that you get one. But a good and effective website should do more than display your product. It needs to sell your product. So it's got to make a great impression quickly. Because in those 3 seconds, you need to connect with your visitors in a way that will engage them and draw them in and get them moving down what I call the trail to the sale. 81% of people decide whether or not to do business with you before you ever are in touch with them. So your website needs to be your best unpaid salesperson. Now, just talking personally, I don't think there's ever been a day where I've thought my website is perfect just the way it is. Truly, it won't ever be perfect. As I like to tell my clients, your website is a living thing. It needs to have new content added on a regular basis, which will make the search engines happy, and it will likely change over time as your business pivots. I think most small businesses kind of pivot at some point. That's why I wanted to talk to Paula Hickey. Paula is a website developer, and she has a lot of great information. If you're just putting your site together, or if you have one that needs a little improvement, Paula has answers. So here's my conversation with Paula. Well, welcome, Paula. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Janice. I'm really excited to be here.
Great. So tell us about your journey. Like, you are a web designer, but how did you get there? Is that something you've always wanted to do, or did you arrive at it from a different career, or how did you get here?
So I actually started building websites as just a hobby and for fun when I was a teenager, like 1999. So it like, I had some friends who were making websites. I was like, oh, that sounds fun. So I just started building it, taught myself HTML and CSS.
Okay.
And I just did that as a hobby. And I had, a job in retail. I was in retail for 20 years. I was assistant manager with Walmart.
Okay.
And so I just did websites on the side for myself for fun because I'm a bit of a nerd, and it was just a hobby. And I started blogging on WordPress in, I think, 2010. So blogging, I went from just doing websites to blogging then. And I actually started my entrepreneurial journey in 2017. I was still with Walmart, but I was, I went as far as the companies I wanted to go. I enjoyed my time there, but I was like, I'm ready to do something else. Mm-hmm. And I found out about virtual assistants, and I was read a lot about what virtual assistants do. And I was like, well, that's what I do for myself on my hobby blog. I can do that for other people and help them with their websites, help them with their blogs. So I started as a virtual assistant, started offering those services, got a few clients, and I had a client ask me, do you know anybody that can build a website for me? And I was like, yes, me. I can do it. I can build you a website. And he was willing to take a chance on me because I hadn't ever built a website for a client. I always just built them for myself. Mm-hmm. But he took that chance on me, and I built his website for him. And I had so much fun doing that. That I realized I need to start actually offering that as a service as well, along with my virtual assistants. And I think it was 2020 when I really started focusing more on the web design. I had been building them along with virtual assistants for a couple of years at that point. But in 2020, I was like, I want to go full in on the web design because that was what I enjoyed the most and had the most fun with. Going back to that, something that had been a hobby for years now was my career. And I was actually able to leave retail because I did both. I did retail and my virtual assistant business together for about 3 years. So I left Walmart in 2020, and I've been full-time in my business since then.
Love it. I think that's the best kind of business, right? That you really enjoy doing, and, then people pay you to do something you love. I mean, what could be better, right? Yeah.
No, I couldn't believe it. I'm getting paid to do something that is just fun for me. It's
And
just fun.
probably a lot more profitable than retail too, right?
Oh,
It's
yes, definitely.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's awesome. I find it really interesting when it's interesting to me because people who build websites, like I used to do with but I had a design agency, so I came at it from the design side. And so the coding when I first did my first sites, like I mean, it took me months and months to do it because I had to learn the CSS HTML part of it.
Right.
And, my brain just doesn't work that way. I tried to fool myself for so long, but no, it just doesn't work that way. So I love that you came at it from the coding side because I think that makes so much more sense, especially now when simple websites are easy to do. But,
Oh, yeah.
if you are working on a website that is a little more complex, then you are totally equipped to do that, right? Because you know that coding and,
Yeah.
um, so you know that side of it. And, um,
Yeah, I'm not afraid to get in there and dig around in the code some. I it's been a long time since I wrote code completely from scratch myself, but because, you have builders now that you can
yeah.
use that just make the job so much easier. But if there's something that needs to be customized, the builder can't do, I'm not afraid to get in there, play around with some CSS or HTML to make that happen.
Yeah, yeah. And that happens quite a bit. I mean,
Oh,
that
yeah.
something will come up and you're like, "Oh, I don't like this. How do I fix it?" And whatever builder you're using, if they can't do it, then it is nice to be able to just jump right in and go look under the hood, as I say. But
And make it look exactly how you want it to look.
yes, right? Yeah. So what are some of the common things that you see when you're looking at websites? Because we're all online a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
So what areas do you feel like a lot of small businesses could probably use a little more awareness or maybe some common mistakes that you see here and there?
I think probably one of the common mistakes I see from a lot of people that come to me is they don't really understand the role that their website plays in their business. Like they're not sure what to do with their website. They just kind of think, "Oh, I need a website. Everybody has
Yeah.
a website. I need a website." But they don't understand how their website can really help them in their business. It can help them, sell their products, book more clients, whatever their goal is for their business. Their website can help them reach that goal, but they're not really clear on that. So I kind of help them figure out, what their goals are, so that I can then create a strategy on their website to help them meet those goals. But that's
Mhm.
just kind of what they don't see, but that's what they need me for, or they need a designer for, is to help them see how their website fits into the big picture of their business. It's not just there because, oh, everybody has a website or you need a pretty website for your business. It
Mhm.
can actually help you um, reach your goals, whatever those may be. And that's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone has different business goals. I mean, it's for service providers and coaches, which is mostly what I work with. The goal generally is to book more clients. So,
Mhm.
you want to do certain things on your website that will lead a client on a journey to booking sales call with you so that you can sell them on your services. And hopefully, you're also using your website to sell them on your services before they get even on the call. Because there's some things that you can do to do that. But
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that and maybe this number is higher now. This was a few years ago, but like 70% of people will look at a website before they ever walk into a business or call a business. They'll make a quick judgment about your business
yeah,
based on the look of your website.
yeah,
And I think that's something to really be aware of. And a website, I love that you said that it's designed to sell because we're all in business to make money, right? So,
right.
I mean, I think a lot of times I used to say there's 5 layers to a website. There's like the text or the copy. There's the design. There's the user experience and navigation. There's the metadata or the words behind the pages that the
Yeah,
search engine use. So it's a SEO. And then there's the marketing, which I think people often like miss the marketing altogether, which is kind of it's what I do. So, I mean, like, I, there's so much we can do on our website to talk about that marketing piece. So I love that you include
right.
that.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times, especially nowadays, people rely so much on social media to do their marketing for them. but you're going to send them from social media where you're going to send them to your website. So the website needs to continue that selling once they get there,
Oh,
continue that
yeah.
journey for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, I could go off on a big tangent about this, but it's like the website that you own that website. You don't own your Facebook
Exactly.
page or your Instagram feed or anything like that. And it could go away tomorrow. I mean, look at, I can't remember the name of it now, that MySpace, I think
Yeah.
it's still out there, but I mean, it's like it was there
Nobody
and
uses it though.
yeah, right. Yeah. So, if you've invested a lot of time and energy into something like that, or people, they get banned from social media platforms for one reason or another all the time,
Oh,
even
yeah.
sometimes an error. So, yeah, that website is crucial. Yeah. So what are the steps that you take clients through when you're designing a website for them?
So like how deep you want me to go?
Well, we got some time, so
Well, I'll kind of talk about maybe some of the key things that
Yeah.
that I always try to make sure my clients are including on their websites. Um, because I'm really big about your website should help you build trust with your audience. We know that, we all know that like, no trust, to get someone to work with you, to purchase from you, they need to know you, like you, and trust you. And to really make that purchase, especially like if you're high ticket, which high ticket is relative, can be different for everybody, but, they need to trust you that you can do what you say you're going to do to actually make that purchase. So there's some key things you can have on your website that will help you build that trust. And usually start with the about page because the about page is so important. Other than your home pages, and sometimes it even outranks your home page as being the most visited page on your website. People, they just they're nosy. They want to see what you're about. They want to, hear your story. But most importantly, they want to see how you can help them, right? What you can do for them. So you want to be sure that you're including that on your about page. But some things to help you kind of build trust, showcase your values on your homepage. So a lot of times clients will leave that out, but just including your values on your homepage will help you connect with the right people. People want to work with people that have similar values to them. So, it doesn't have to be like a huge thing. You can put, I usually say 3 to 5 values. Just include those on your homepage and also try to infuse those values throughout your copy, throughout your website. But you can mention them specifically on your about page just to kind of connect with people. Get those skimmers who are going through and they'll see the headings and stuff there and be like, okay, this person, I resonate with them. And that will give you that connection there. Some other things to include on your about page is like share your expertise on there. If you have degrees, if you have certifications, you don't have to have degrees and certifications to be an expert. I do want to say that. Your years of experience, because like I don't have a degree, one degree, but I have over 20 years of building websites as an experience. But if you have those things, make sure that you're mentioning them on your about page, maybe in a short bio or just like a list of fun things about yourself. You mention like, that you have a degree or certification in these things. So that people, that just reaffirms in your mind that that you know what you're doing, that you really are truly legitimate because people have that fear of spending money and being taken advantage of. So you're just trying to eliminate that by mentioning a few things. And there's lots of different ways to show your expertise throughout your website. But if you have those kinds of things, be sure that you're mentioning them.
I love that you, sorry to
No,
interrupt
go
you,
ahead.
but I love that you are talking about like showing your values and, and it's important too, before you even get to this point, and I know you talk about that in your free download, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but, really understanding who that ideal customer is for you. And once you get a solid idea of who that is, then you can kind of reflect some of those values back at them. So if you
Yeah.
know exactly who you want to work with, then you can feel more comfortable, even in the small things. Like you said, skimmers. I think we're kind of all website skimmers. I mean,
Yeah.
trying to read on a website is hard, and most of us honestly don't. I mean, and um, I think if you can just integrate little things about that target customer or ideal customer on that page, then it really does go a long way of personalizing that journey with them. So it's
Yeah.
like, hey, they understand me. They get me.
Yeah, like just like on my own website, I mentioned, like I like wide margins and I'm not about the hustle because I want to work with people that, they're not about the hustle, right?
Right.
If they're working 24/7, that's fine if that's the kind of life that they want. I don't want that. So I want to attract people that are, more easygoing
More chill.
and yeah, more chill. That's the kind of environment I want. So I mentioned that, try to attract more people like that. I think most of my clients are really. I don't really have any
Okay.
about the hustle.
Well,
Um,
I've had a lot of clients who will text me at 11:30 at night. So I love
yeah,
that you put that out there, and I think that's smart. So
yeah, yeah. Because I'm like, I'm not working on the weekends. I'm not working past this time. I mean, I
right.
will if there's an emergency. I'm going to be there and help my client.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what you should do. But for normal everyday, try to hold those boundaries.
Good for you.
So one other thing I do want to mention for the about page is a way to kind of show that you're an authority on things
Mhm.
is I'm not sure who this quote is from, but I always love it. Is you don't decide that you're an authority, other people do.
Love
So
it.
to show that you're an authority, you want to show others that have recognized you as authority in your about page. You can also do it on your homepage. But on your about page, maybe have one of those little featured in bars, like of different places you've been featured. And it
Mhm.
doesn't have to always be the huge names like Forbes or something like that. But, other places that are recognized as an authority in your niche, kind of list those there. If you've done some podcast interviews or, um, different guest blogs on somebody's website or been featured in an article somewhere, maybe list a few of those. And again, it just reinforces that you are who you say you are and you can do what you say you can do. And just kind of put that somewhere on your homepage, which I think I tell on my guide, like a good spot to put it. But you can also do that on your homepage. But that just, is another way to kind of show your expertise.
Great suggestion. Absolutely. Or big clients too that you've worked
Well,
with.
yeah. Yeah.
So that would be great.
Depending on, I guess, what kind of business you have and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Another thing that I always try to encourage my clients to get is testimonials because you want to have that social proof on your website. Um, and if someone's just starting out, they may not have testimonials, and that's okay. I always tell everybody we all start with zero. We start with zero
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
everything. With
Mhm.
testimonials featured in articles, all that stuff. So if you don't have it yet, don't worry about that. That's fine. But it's something for you to put on the list that you need to get, as you're building your business, as you're working with clients, or selling products, start getting those reviews for your products so you can have that social proof on your website. And what I do and what I encourage my clients to do is scatter that throughout your website. You want to put it in strategic places. A lot of people will say, just have a testimonial page. Nobody's really probably going to read that. But if you
Right.
throughout your website, and there's nothing wrong with having that, but it's a quick way, I think, to share references kind of with people if you want to have a testimonial page. But you want to be more strategic with it in place. You want to have them like on your home page. You want to have some testimonials on your about page. Definitely any service pages or product pages, courses that you might be selling. You want to have those testimonials on there. And you can have them in several spots. And if you are just starting out and you just have a few, it's okay to use them in more than one spot. That's okay.
Mhm.
Don't feel bad about that because people will miss stuff. They're not going to see everything. But I always try to make sure that if they have the testimonials that we're using them and we're using them strategically where they need to be.
Right, right. And just a place to get those is that you may have some on your LinkedIn profile and you can just pull them off that. Or sometimes I'll get emails from clients that will say,
Yeah.
hey, I really love what you did here. And I'll just say, is it okay if I just, pop this on my site? And they'll say, sure, yeah. So, or people that, if you're just starting out, it's if you just
Right.
done something pro bono for a nonprofit, or if you just like you did, start doing it for friends. So there's always,
Yeah.
I think, opportunities to get
Yeah.
testimonials or even case studies if you,
Case
depending
studies
on the
are,
type of
yeah.
business that you have. Yeah.
Case studies are awesome if you can get them. That's really especially helpful for the people that are already kind of looking to buy and they're just trying to decide between you and someone else. The case study can help make that difference and push them to say, okay, I want to go with them because I've read through this. I like the process. It's really, we're able to see the transformation someone got. So case studies can be really helpful for that. And that reminded me of something I did want to say about testimonials. Like you want to be sure that when you're getting testimonials from people that you're asking good questions to try to get them to share what kind of transformation they received from working with you. And also ask it too about any objections they may have had from working with you to kind of see what they had, because then you can use that and what helped them kind of overcome that objection. Because you can use those testimonials to help eliminate that objection from a potential client's mind. Right? And maybe someone thought that your services were too high. That was their initial objection. But then they said it was worth every penny. They're so glad they did it. They took the chance. You want to use that to try to help eliminate that objection in a potential client's mind. So
Absolutely.
just kind of think of those things when you're asking those questions and creating those questions to ask, or when you're asking your clients for testimonial.
Anything else that you feel like you when you are working with clients that you want to get from them?
Yes, I always try to make sure some things that I like to get from a client is this really, it's kind of the security and accessibility of their website. I always try to make sure, which I'm not legal. I'm not giving legal advice or anything, but I always make sure my clients are aware that they will need policies for their website and to encourage them to, it's up to them to do their due diligence to determine what policies they're going to need for their website. But I give them some resources so that they can get those policies, because everybody needs a privacy policy and a cookie policy and those kinds of things, terms and conditions. But I make sure that they have the resources that they need so that they can get those policies and we can have them for their website. Because a lot of people, they may not even realize that when they come to me that they need those things. So I make sure to bring that up to make sure that we have those when we launch, because we don't want to launch without those things. And also do my best just in the building, and the client doesn't really have, a whole lot to do with this part of it, but I always try to make sure that everything is accessible as possible. I'm not an accessibility expert. I'm just continually trying to learn about it. And for those who don't know, accessibility just means that you're making your website so that anybody can view it, no matter if they have vision, hearing, mobility impairments, that when they visit their website, your website, that they still have a good experience and they can access all the content.
That's awesome. So important.
Yeah.
And Google rewards that.
Yeah.
Too.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It'll help you not just with your visitors, but it helps you with SEO. So it's a double win.
Right. Yeah. And I recently read this too, because I would always want to just put my keywords in like an image and the alt text on an image. And but they're looking for descriptions. So if it's a woman holding a baby, they want to know woman holding baby, and and I try and work in a keyword too, based on whatever page it is that I'm putting it on. But yeah, those little things that and it's not as though most often, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was working with clients, oftentimes they would do their own blog posts. So having an understanding of this carried over to the blog. So I wouldn't upload their blogs for them. They would write them and upload them on their own. But they really needed to have some kind of a level of understanding about simple SEO things and putting alt text and accessibility functions.
Yes, that's one thing I always do at the end of a project is I'll create tutorial videos for my client. And that's one of the things I always include is for those clients who want to blog, I'll show them how to, put the blog post in the website and everything. And part of that process is naming the image, uploading the image. And I explain all that to them in the video about why you're doing that, the way you're doing it, and where to put your alt text and stuff like that. Because I want them to understand how to do it and feel empowered that they can do it on their own if they need to. I do offer ongoing services with people. So if they don't want to even fool with that, I do that for them. I don't write blog posts, but I would upload them to the website and format them and everything like that. But yeah, making sure that it's important to make sure they understand what to do when you're not around.
Right.
So they can do it on their own. I don't want anybody to ever feel like I'm holding their business hostage, like they have to rely on me. I want them to understand and be able to do it on their own. And with accessibility, there's so much to it, but that's one things I always mention is making sure that you have the alt text and it's actually descriptive. Because I thought I was the same way. I thought the same thing. That's what I was taught. That's what was taught forever. It was like, oh, that's just where you put your keyword.
Right.
I didn't know, and then I learned. I learned better,
Okay. Well, it's not like Google shows their hand ever. So you never really know. I mean, once in a while they'll drop hints and such. And, but yeah, sometimes it's a lot of guesswork on our part as to what Google's really looking for. But yeah, that is one of them.
And another thing for accessibility, this is just kind of a mistake I see people make sometimes is the font size is too small on their website. So that's an easy fix for people to go in. Or most of the time it's easy fix just to, cause for desktop, you should be like at 18 pixels and mobile 16 is what Google recommends is best for accessibility. And that's for your body font. Now, like your headings, of course, would be larger fonts, but if your font is smaller than that, maybe going in and checking that and you can up that size. And also just check the contrast on it because sometimes I see the font is too light on the background and you can't really see it to read it. So maybe just darkening that. Sometimes all you got to do is increase the font weight a little bit too. And that will make it a little easier to read. So play around with your font and just make sure there's good contrast and it's the correct size.
One thing that is important too, and I'm sure that you would cover this, is that making sure it's mobile responsive.
Yeah.
So it was in the early days, like you had a desktop site and then people were able to, like, you can tell how long I've been doing this. Then people were able to pull up websites on their phones. So then it's suddenly, okay, we have to make another site that was mobile friendly. And this is probably before you even were doing this, Paula. But then now a website has to resize based on the pixel size of the screen. So they typically there's and the terminology I've totally forgotten this, but like we're at a point in which you are at a tablet size.
Your break point.
Thank you. That's the word. And then a phone size and so on. And, and I think, and you probably go into this as well, but, making sure that your font is large enough. If you have to click on it with your phone to make sure that you can click a link without hitting something else or that there's no overlap or weird things happening or that it used to be like pop-ups would just like take down a mobile site sometimes because you couldn't get past them to see what was on the screen. And, and these are little things. So I think, always checking your mobile version and your tablet version, if you make any changes at all on your site and making sure that it all lays out correctly and that it looks good and is functional.
Yes. Even if you just update a plugin on your website, you might want to go check. Because
that's a good point.
Like I use Elementor the majority of the time to build websites. That's my builder of choice. So if there is a, update with Elementor, it doesn't hurt to go and check the mobile because it seems like something will happen with the padding or the margin and not every time, but it does happen. So
that's exactly what I use too is Elementor. And yes, and now they give you warnings like maybe you should update your site before you install this, which I know you should always do. But I've had really wonky things happen with the update. So yes, I agree. Elementor makes it very easy to design a site, but you do have to pay attention when you do the updates. Make sure all the pages are still looking good. But I'm really glad you brought that up.
Well, it's happened to me. I've been like, went to my website and like, what's going on here? Oh yeah, I did an update. I should check that.
Yeah, it's sometimes
we forget to do our own website. Sometimes I'm really good about checking clients and then forget my own.
Yeah, like that doesn't load the CSS or something weird. But so speaking of Elementor, I'm guessing you are on WordPress, right? You
Yeah.
design sites on WordPress, which is open source. And so why do you like WordPress? And what do you
Well,
think about Wix and Squarespace and some of the other? I mean, we can be controversial here. I don't mind.
no, I mean, I would never tell somebody like, oh, you have to be on WordPress. It's the only place to be.
Mhm.
Though I feel that way. That's for me, that's the only place to be.
Right.
Um, I like it because it is open source, like you mentioned, and it's fully mine. If
Mhm.
you build on Squarespace or Wix and they were to shut down tomorrow, there goes everything. There goes everything that you had.
Yeah.
But like with WordPress, if something were to happen to my hosting company, I could just go change my host and move
Yeah.
everything real quick. No big deal. I still have it all. If you want to change platforms, it's kind of hard too. I mean, like you would have to rebuild everything from scratch if you wanted to move from Squarespace or Wix.
Mhm.
So those are the downfalls that I see. And with WordPress, you can build any kind of website that you want. The plugin options, are vast. So anything that you need, you can build a store on your website. You can build a course platform. You can build a membership site, all
Mhm.
right on WordPress. You can do it all there. So that's another reason I like it. It's just, there's so many options for clients. There is a learning
Oh.
curve, but if a client doesn't mind tech, doesn't mind dealing with those kinds of things, then, WordPress is perfect for them.
And
You know,
with something like Elementor, they make it. I mean, it's just
so
literally
easy.
drag and drop. Almost not quite, but close.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'm right there with you. I am a WordPress fan, and that's what I've used since after I stopped designing them, like hand coding them, which was, well, not my finest hours, but
Well, when I started my blog, that was what I went with was WordPress. I heard it was the best.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
that's
there's
what I got.
WordPress.com and there's WordPress.org.
Right.
And so, is it WordPress.com? That's all online. So if you just wanted
Yeah.
to do a blog, you could just go onto WordPress.com and just do a blog, and it will live on the
Right.
WordPress.com site, right?
And you don't have I don't think you have as many options there to do
No.
things like you do with WordPress.org.
Right, right.
I've never had anything on WordPress.com, so I don't really know for sure, but
Yeah, I did a long time ago. I just anyway, but yes, I agree. I think
it's
but
limiting.
yeah, so I think the reason I bring that up is because it is kind of confusing that there's a .com and a .org, but the one we're
Yeah.
talking about is that you can download, and you would just go to your web host if you're trying to build a site yourself, which I don't know that I'd recommend, but you might want to. A lot of people did. I learned,
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you just got to jump right in sometimes, and you just go to a web host and reserve or buy domain name, and then you can recommend at that point, you can say, I wanted this on WordPress, and they will help you set that up. It's really
Right.
automatically set up for you. So,
Yeah.
um,
Especially with places like Bluehost is really easy.
mhm,
I used localhost. They were really easy.
okay.
There's some hosts out there that make it just super easy to use WordPress.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, most of them make it so much easier now, um, as opposed to the early days where you really
Yeah.
had to
It
pull
was,
support.
you had to figure out or just figure out how to upload it yourself, I think is what I did. I just took plunge and uploaded
Yeah.
it. Because my host at that time didn't have WordPress as an easy, just click this button and install it. I had to figure out how to install it myself. But,
Right. Right.
but I liked doing that kind of stuff. So it
The other
wasn't
nice
a
thing
big
about
deal.
WordPress, oh, excuse me. Um, the other nice thing about WordPress is that you can go ahead and change a theme in there and it won't derail. You don't have to like redo your site. If you get sick of the look of it or you just want to update it somehow,
Yeah.
you can just change the theme and, and it will just, you can leave all your content there. You don't have to redo the entire site that way, which is really
I
nice.
know. I love that too. Yes. It makes it so easy to make
It do.
changes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how do you approach balancing like the aesthetics functionality of a website, especially for businesses?
The aesthetics and the functionality. I mean, the function really should be the first most important thing, I think, because it affects the user experience. You want to make sure that everything is very clear for the user and everything's very easy for the user. So you don't want things to, you don't want it to be too overwhelming. Like you don't want things to be cluttered or confusing when someone lands on the website. It should be very clear. So always making sure that the aesthetics don't overwhelm the function or make it confusing to the visitor. I love pretty stuff too, but sometimes that pretty stuff isn't the best thing for your website. That font might be too hard to read or not the best size, or it might not have enough like different weights that you need to work on your website. Might be hard to read or just not look very good, or maybe the colors that you're using don't have very good contrast. So you might have to be willing to use some different shades, because you can do that within your brand colors. You use some different shades so that you make sure that your text stands out and that your buttons stand out from everything as well, because you want those buttons to stand out. So you want to make sure that you have good contrast with your colors. So you need to have some flexibility with that. And not get too married to them, I guess, a little bit. I guess is what I'm saying. Like it has to be that particular shade when it may not look and work very well for the user experience, So just trying to find that balance.
One of the questions I used to get asked, I still get asked this once in a while, is like, what color should my buttons be? Like there's like a psychological connection. And actually, I remember back, I think it was college or grad school, where I looked into a study where they looked at different colors. And it was true that there was influence bond colors and there were impulse bond colors. And the impulse ones were what you would expect, like the reds and the brighter active colors versus, the subtle shade. But really, it's all about, I think, more recent studies like on websites and with, lead pages and stuff like that you are doing. It's really about the contrast, which you just said.
Yeah.
So,
it's so funny because I just had a client who was like, "We need to use green for our buttons, right?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Your green doesn't have enough contrast with the background. They will use this other color she had in her palette really stood out." I was like, "This is the color." It was a really pretty blue, and it stood out from everything else. I was like, that's kind of like the old school thinking, but they've done studies, like you just said, that show it's about the contrast.
How can people get in touch with you? And you have a free download too. It's called Write Your Client Getting Website. And I will tell you that this is super comprehensive. I downloaded it today and I printed it out, and I kind of want to go through and reevaluate my own website because, as I'm sure you know, it's easy to look at your own website and think it's fine. But if you go in it with fresh eyes or have somebody else do it, I think that's really the ideal thing. It's just like have somebody else evaluate your website for you, because we're really too close to it. It's hard to be objective to our own site.
Yeah.
But anyway, you have this free download and we'll put the link in our show notes for today.
Yeah.
But tell us how we can get in touch with you otherwise.
So you can get in touch with me on my website, which is paulasextonhickey.com. And you can also get in touch with me on Instagram. That's probably the social media I'm most active on. And that's Paula Hickey VA, at Paula Hickey VA.
I'll put the link in the show notes as well. So, well, thank you, Paula. This has been great talking websites today. I just, I do kind of geek out on websites too. So it's been a great conversation. Yeah. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. It's fun to talk to somebody that gets it and geeks out too, because I just love it. I love it.
Wow, that was a lot of information, wasn't it? Fortunately, as I talked about during the interview, Paula has a free download that will help you a ton. I seriously downloaded this thorough PDF and walked through it today, and there is just a lot of great information in there that I will be using for myself as well. She, in this download, will walk you through every part of getting your site up and running, or maybe making some tweaks and improvements. You can get the link for that at myweeklymarketing.com/42. That's myweeklymarketing.com /42. As always, if you liked what you heard this week, let me know by subscribing and leaving a review on the platform you're listening on. Thanks again for joining me. See you next time. Bye for now.